dishonor the Father. Jesus is not driven by his own glory, by amassing a crowd. He would have been a horrible millennial on social media trying to get likes and followers. Rather, in verse 50, he seeks to make much of the Father who sent him, he says. All that drives Jesus, everything he does all the time is about glorifying the Father. With every thought, with every action, with every interaction, moment by moment, Jesus' drive was honoring and glorifying his Father in heaven in everything he did. He took no breaks. He didn't press pause. Everything he did was about honoring and glorifying the Father. Is that what drives you, Christian? Do you live like you are trying to glorify God in all that you do? Is the glory of God the actual desire of your heart? Is it the thing that you filter all the rest of life through? Are there places in your life where God's glory is not the priority? What is stopping you from taking every thought captive? What's stopping you from being transformed by the renewal of your mind? What's stopping you from seeing yourself no longer as I who live, but Christ who lives in me? What's stopping you from seeking the kingdom first? Where's the disconnect? Where's the doubt and fear and worry coming from? What parts of your life do you need to offer to Jesus and invite him to actually take over? For most people, what Jesus says in verse 51 would be an invitation and a call to that. For the Jews, they saw it as blasphemy. Verse 51, Jesus says to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death." When Jesus speaks, it's divisive. 1 Peter 2, 7 and 8, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. Jesus, for some, is the cornerstone, the thing everything else is built on, the thing that centers, the thing that brings foundation and stability. And for others, it is a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. Truly, truly, he says in verse 51, those who keep my words will never see death. Again, in the midst of this angry crowd who we see in verse 59 pick up stones to throw him. So they're ready. They're right on the edge. They are ready to kill him. And in the midst of that, as they argue with him, as they call him demonic, as they throw racial slurs at him, he's still right there standing in front of them, offering hope and grace and mercy and truth. Keep my words, believe them, cling to them, obey and live in them, abide in them, dwell in them, and you will not see death. How can he possibly say that? He could say that because of who he is. In chapter 6, verse 63, the words that I have spoken to you are spirit and life. He is the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In him is life, and that life is the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness and cannot and will not ever be overcome by it. What did Peter say at the end of chapter 6? Where are we going to go, God? You have the words of eternal life. But how can Jesus possibly say you will never see death? Because of who he is. John writes in layers. John likes to plant seeds. He likes to give us a little vision of something, and he says, hang on to that. I'll pick it back up in a minute. Here, he's planting a little seed that's going to sprout and grow in chapter 11. Because in chapter 11, Jesus is going to tell a woman, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Our bodies may stop functioning. Our eyes may close. We may take our last breath. But the Christian has eternal life already. That's life with no end. Our bodies may fail, but our security is secured by grace through faith in the life, death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, that our eternity is set. Though you may die, yet you shall live and have life eternal. Jesus offers this invitation to them in verse 52. The Jews respond, "Now we know you speak from the devil." Abraham died. The prophets all died. But if we follow you, we won't taste death. Are you better than Abraham? Are you better than the prophets? Who do you think you are? You see the irony here? The Jews make these snide comments about Jesus and his birth, thinking that they know the story, thinking that they have some secret about Jesus, some dirt on him, when in actuality they have no idea about the miracle of Mary's virgin birth and where the security of Jesus' true paternity is found. And here they question, are you greater than our father Abraham who died? Are you greater than the prophets who we hold up, whose words we study? Are you greater than them? Yes, he is. In fact, he is their God. The things they spoke, the things you have memorized, the things you've been studying since you were kids, it's all about him. He says in verse 54, "Look, I have told you who I am. I'm not going to stand here and glorify myself. My Father does that on my behalf." You know, my Father, the one you say you follow and know, the one you claim is your God. You claim to follow him and know him, but you don't, and I do. Jesus says, "I know him, and to say I didn't would make me a liar like you." Tensions are rising. Anger is boiling. Jesus continues in verse 56, "As for Abraham, I know him too. And the thought that he would see what you all are seeing, he rejoiced in it. He rejoiced that he would even see a vision of my day." Note that he says my day. He doesn't say a vision of the Lord's day or the day of the Messiah. He says, no, it's my day. Why? Because he is the Lord and he is the Messiah. He could have said anything else, but he chooses to let them know what Abraham longed for is happening right now. What all of the prophets longed for is happening right now in front of your face. In Genesis 12, God promised Abraham, his name was Abram back then, "I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." And Abraham heard that promise from God, and he trusted it, and he waited on it, and he waited on it, and he waited on it. And finally, in his old age, and in the old age of his wife, the fulfillment, the promise, the beginning of the blessing showed up in the birth of his son Isaac. And when God called Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, the fulfillment of this blessing he had waited his whole life for, and God tells him, go take Isaac and sacrifice him. Abraham is told to sacrifice his son, sacrifice the fulfillment of this promise. The conflicted father, as they are walking up the hill, says to his son, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering. And when Isaac is bound on the altar and Abraham is about to kill his son, God steps in and stops Abraham. And Genesis 22:13, Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. All of this was a foreshadow, a taste, a glimpse of this time when the Messiah would come, when the Christ would come, when Jesus would come to rescue and be the fulfillment of God's promise and be the sacrifice in our place that God provides, when all the people of the world would be blessed through him. Abraham saw these things, experienced these things, and he was glad. And he looked forward to the complete fulfillment of those things. We've seen this over and over again. Jesus makes a statement, right? Verse 57, there's confusion because Jesus makes a statement. There's misunderstanding about that statement, so Jesus takes it a step further and gives them the actual deeper truth. They say, but you aren't even 50 years old. How have you seen Abraham? He's been dead for a really long time. In verse 58, Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. Ego eimi, I am is the literal translation. Jesus said, I am the bread of life, and he said, I am the light of the world, and now it's just I am. But to say it's just I am would make it seem like it's no big deal, but it is. When Moses